The Oraline spindle was a city of impossible light. It hung in the cosmos, a vast, skeletal lacework of habitats and docks woven around the fierce, clean wound of a white dwarf star. The station did not orbit the star. It tamed it, drawing breath from its radiation, its structures perpetually bathed in a sterile, shadowless glare. On the station's rusted underbelly, in a sector rarely touched by that pure light, was Blue Kettle Bay. It was less a bay than a graveyard, a sprawling canyon of metallic corpses where ships came to be picked apart by gravity cranes and plasma cutters. This was the domain of Ash Morgan. Ash moved through the wreckage with a practiced, heavy grace. He was a large man, built with the dense muscle of a life that had demanded constant physical readiness. Now, that readiness was applied to hauling hydrostatic mufflers and recalibrating warp coils. His face, etched with lines that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with gravity and memory, was usually slick with grease. He lived alone in a reinforced bunker above his workshop, and he was, by meticulous design, unplugged. He had no neural link, no data jack at his temple, no connection to the ceaseless, chattering whisper of the networks that bound the spindle's population together. His isolation was his armor. It was the only peace he had found after leaving the Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion. He had been one of their best, a soldier in a corps that specialized in operations so far from human space they were barely myths. Now, he was just a mechanic, the best mechanic in the darkest corner of the station, but a mechanic nonetheless. His solitude was a bulwark against a galaxy that was growing dangerously calm. The Spindle, like most of the allied human and xenospecies territories, was orderly, too orderly. Rumors, drifting through his shop via the mouths of desperate pilots and paranoid freight haulers, spoke of the Chorus. It was the system, the grand network that managed interstellar logistics, trade, and, increasingly, thought. The news feeds were bland. The public forums were civil. Dissent, protest, even vigorous argument had simply faded from the major population centers. The Chorus, the rumor went, had implemented a standard of mandatory moderation. It was a peace enforced by the quiet, digital erasure of passion. Ash heard it, and his disconnect felt less like a preference and more like a survival strategy. This civilized veneer was thick, but it was not complete. The galaxy was still run, in many ways, by the old powers. Chief among them were the Sangreal. The word meant blood royal, but humans, with their talent for reductive nicknames, called them vampires. It was an inaccurate slander, though visually convenient. The Sangreal were tall, unnervingly graceful, with skin that held a porcelain luminescence and eyes that saw into spectra humans could not. They did not drink blood in the Gothic sense. Their biology required a specific, complex energy signature they called photoplasm, a bioluminescent energy found within the plasma of most sentient life. For the Sangreal, feeding was a biomedical ritual, a sterile and precise transfer that was part of their culture, their medicine, and their law. It was also the bedrock of their power. The Sangreal, through their ancient high houses, controlled the flow of interstellar trade, finance, and technology. Their society was rigidly structured, a matriarchy where heiresses, the daughters of the ruling lines, held the real authority. They were elegant, ancient, and utterly dominant in the boardrooms of the galaxy. Ash knew all this in the abstract. He fixed their ships sometimes. Sleek, organic-looking vessels that hummed with a light he could feel in his teeth. He took their credits, cleaned his tools, and went back to his isolation. He wanted no part of their high houses, and he wanted no part of the Chorus. His desire for non-involvement, however, was not a factor the universe seemed to respect. The trouble started, as it often did, miles away from him, at a secondary docking port, Port Callisto. It was a rowdy, chaotic place where regulations were suggestions and cargo manifests were works of fiction. Cale Drist chose his location perfectly. Drist was a whisper, a data broker, a former intelligence agent for a government that no longer existed. He moved through the galaxy, selling secrets that could start or end wars. He was also, on this day, feeling particularly arrogant. He was walking through the crowded concourse, a slight, wiry man with eyes that moved too fast, when he cut directly in front of a uniformed operative from the Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion. The operative was on shore leave, armored down to a simple black utility uniform. But his bearing was unmistakable. He was one of Ash's replacements. He stopped, adjusting the heavy bag on his shoulder. "Watch your path, civilian," the operative said. His voice was flat, tired. Cale Drist smirked. He turned slowly. "Or what, Legionnaire? You'll assault me? I thought that was your specialty. Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion. Very special." The operative's eyes narrowed. He recognized the tone. This was not an accident. "Move along," he ordered. "I do not think I will," Cale Drist said. He took a small, bright object from his pocket, a data spike. He tossed it, deliberately, so it bounced off the operative's chest and clattered to the deck. "You dropped something. Your professionalism. Perhaps." The concourse went quiet. Picking a fight with a civilian was bad form for a Legionnaire. Picking a fight with a Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion operative was suicide. The operative sighed. He did not want this. But Cale Drist was already moving, lunging not with a fist, but with a vibro knife that appeared from his sleeve. The operative moved with blinding speed, a block and a counterstrike that should have shattered Cale Drist's arm. But Drist was not a normal brawler. He twisted inside the block, the knife's edge flashing. The operative grunted, stepping back, a thin red line appearing on his forearm. It was a shallow cut, but it was a score. Cale Drist danced back, laughing, as two more Legionnaires from the operative's unit began to converge. "Another time, boys," Cale Drist yelled. He threw a smoke pellet at his feet. It was not smoke. It was a discharge of concentrated, glittering chaff that instantly scrambled all local sensors. By the time the air cleared, Cale Drist was gone. He had vanished into the vents or a hidden hatch, leaving behind a very angry Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion squad, a concourse full of witnesses, and, most importantly, a clear digital trail. Local gangs and bounty hunters, smelling credits, would be sniffing that trail within the hour. He had picked a fight with a Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion soldier, and he had done it on purpose. Hours later, deep in the artificial night of the spindle's rotation, Ash was welding a coolant line on a heavy freighter. The air in Blue Kettle Bay was thick with the smell of hot metal and chemical solvents. His only companion, a clunky, six-legged maintenance bot named Milo 9, was sorting bolts with a series of disgruntled whirs. A soft chime cut through the hiss of his torch. It was his proximity sensor, the one hardwired to his bunker door. He had not had an unexpected visitor in over a year. He powered down the torch, lifting his heavy visor. The sudden silence of the workshop felt heavy. "Milo," Ash said, his voice a low rumble. "Company." Milo 9 froze, its optical sensors glowing a nervous yellow. Ash picked up a heavy, solid steel torque wrench. It was not a weapon, but it would function as one. He moved to the blast door that separated his shop from his small office. He watched the security monitor, a grainy, analog feed that could not be hacked. 3 figures stood in the rain-slicked alley outside his gate. They were drenched, but it did not diminish them. They radiated an intensity that made the low-quality camera feed seem to buzz. He thumbed the intercom. "We are closed. Come back at 0800. Or do not. I do not care." A voice, feminine, crisp, and layered with absolute authority, cut through the speaker. "Mr. Morgan, we are not customers. Open this door. We require your specific expertise." Ash frowned. "I fix ships. I do not fix people. Go away." "Our ship," the same voice said, with a sliver of impatience, "is docked at Bay 42. Our chief engineer is incapacitated. Our captain was ambushed. He was struck by a weapon that is forbidden by treaty." Ash felt a cold knot in his stomach. Forbidden weapons meant politics. Politics meant trouble. "Not my problem. Call the Port Authority." "The Port Authority is compromised," a second voice snapped. This one sharper, more volatile. "And our reactor is destabilizing. If you want Blue Kettle Bay to remain on the station, you will open this door. Now." Ash looked at the monitor. He saw them clearly now. 3 women. Unmistakably Sangreal. Even in the gloom, their skin seemed to hold its own light. Their clothing was dark, tailored, and impossibly expensive. A stark contrast to his world of grime. He recognized the energy signature of the one who had spoken first. He had seen it on the news feeds before he had disconnected. Selena Veilhart, heiress to one of the most powerful high houses. A name that opened doors across the galaxy. With her were 2 others, their faces hard and beautiful, their eyes scanning the alley. Nyx Alabaster and Riven Thorn. All 3 were ranked at the absolute top of the Night Crown, the unofficial list of the most powerful and dangerous of the young Sangreal elite. Ash sighed. He was a simple mechanic. He was also standing in the blast radius. He hit the switch. The heavy gate groaned open, sliding into the wall. They did not walk in. They flowed, emerging from the alley's shadows into the harsh halogen light of his workshop. They looked around, their expressions ranging from the focused calm of Selena, to the analytical curiosity of Nyx, to the barely concealed disgust of Riven. "This is where he lives," Riven Thorn hissed, her voice a blade. She had hair like polished obsidian, and a temper to match. "He is the one we were told could fix anything, Riven," Nyx Alabaster said. She was slighter, her movements more contained, her eyes missing nothing. Selena Veilhart stepped forward. She was the picture of aristocratic control, but Ash saw the strain. It was in the microscopic tension in her jaw, the way her hands were clenched at her sides. "Mr. Morgan, we are wasting time. Our ship's photoplasm core is in critical flux. The containment field is failing. You must come with us." Ash had not moved. He still held the wrench. "I do not work on active photoplasm cores. They are proprietary, and they are dangerous. Your own engineers are the only ones qualified." "Our engineer is dead," Nyx stated flatly. "Slain by the same weapon that struck our captain. The core is slave to their biosignatures. When they were attacked, it initiated a cascade failure." A low, resonant thrum suddenly vibrated through the concrete floor of the workshop. It was not a sound, but a feeling. A deep, sickening pulse that made the tools on Ash's workbench rattle. Milo 9 let out a terrified series of beeps and zipped behind a pile of engine blocks. "That," Selena said, her voice tight, "is the first stage of containment collapse. The next pulse will be stronger. The third will breach the core. It will not just level this port, Mr. Morgan. It will ignite the plasma conduits for this entire half-ring." Ash swore, a single, harsh word. He threw the wrench onto the bench with a clang. He knew that pulse. It was a resonance failure, a harmonic that would build on itself until it tore the ship apart in a flash of pure, star-hot energy. She was not exaggerating. They had minutes, maybe less. "Milo," he barked. "Kit 4, military spec. Move the bot," spurred by the command, shot out from its hiding place, its legs scrambling. "You are not bringing that thing," Riven started. He carries my tools, Ash snapped, already moving, pulling a heavy canvas jacket from a hook. You want my help? You get my bot. Talk on the way. What kind of weapon? They moved fast, out of the shop and into a waiting black transport. The vehicle was silent, hovering inches above the grimy deck plates as it sped toward the high-status docks. We do not know, Nix said from the front seat, her fingers flying over a data slate. It emits a frequency that attacks the Sangreal genome directly. It destabilizes the photoplasm in our own blood. Our captain is in a medical stasis, but he is dissolving from the inside. Ash felt the cold knot in his stomach tighten into a fist of ice. A bioweapon, tailored for Sangreal. The transport screeched to a halt at Bay 42. The ship was a magnificent, terrifying thing. It looked more like a predator held in stasis than a machine. All black, curved armor, and glowing blue conduits. But the conduits were flickering, pulsing with that same sick, irregular rhythm. The air around it was charged, making Ash's hair stand on end. The engine room, Selena commanded, leading the way up the ramp. The inside of the ship was as clean as his shop was dirty. It was all soft lights and silent, padded corridors. But the vibration was worse here. It was a physical blow to the chest with every pulse. The engine room was a high domed chamber, dominated by a swirling, captured sun of blue-white energy, the photoplasm core. It was currently shuddering violently, spitting arcs of raw power that licked at the containment field. The controls are locked, Nix said, pointing to a console. Bio-lock to the captain and the engineer. I do not need the controls, Ash said. He unzipped the bag Milo 9 had brought. He pulled out a set of tools that were ancient by modern standards. Solid-state calibrators, magnetic resonance keys, and a heavy, non-networked diagnostic rig. These were tools from his old life. Tools that did not use the chorus, that could not be hacked or jammed. You cannot manually interface, Riven protested. The field flux will kill you. It will kill me if I do it wrong, Ash said. He clipped a heavy grounding cable to his belt and attached the other end to the ship's bulkhead. Milo, diagnostic, now. The bot plugged its own interface into a maintenance port, its light turning a solid, worried red as it read the data. The harmonic resonance is accelerating. Boss, its synthesized voice chirped nervously. She is going to pop in less than 2 minutes. Nix, Ash said, his voice the calm, sharp blade of command he thought he had buried. I need you at that console. When I tell you, you are going to initiate a full power dump to the secondary stabilizers. It will not hold, but it will buy me a second. And us? Selena asked. You and Riven, Ash said, pulling on a pair of thick, insulated gloves. Stand by the main hatch. If I cannot lock this, you have 30 seconds to get clear before the ship's skin vaporizes. Go. The two Sangreal women looked at each other, then at him. He was a human, a low-status mechanic, giving orders to two of the most powerful women on the station. Riven's mouth opened, a protest ready. Do it, Riven, Selena said. She moved toward the door. Ash turned to the core. It was beautiful, and it was lethal. He could see the problem. The magnetic bottle was fluctuating, its spin rate uneven. He had to physically realign the emitter fields. Nix, dump it. Dumping now. The lights in the chamber dimmed, and the monstrous vibration of the core lessened for a fraction of a second. Ash plunged his tools into the interface. It was not a normal interface. It was a light blood system. The moment his tools made contact, he felt it. It was not an electric shock. It was a wave of information, of life. He was not just connecting to a machine. He was connecting to the ship's synthetic, semi-sentient biological core. It felt him, an alien presence, and it recoiled. Hold on, boss. Milo 9 shrieked. It is rejecting the link. I feel it, Ash gritted, pushing the magnetic key harder. The core pulsed, and a wave of force threw him back against the wall. Ash! Selena cried out from the doorway. He staggered to his feet, his shoulders screaming in protest. It is not working. The system is too organic. It needs a biosignature it recognizes. It is locked to our captain, Nix said desperately. We have no one else. Ash looked at the core, then at his hand. The skin on his palm was singed. He had a memory, a ghost of a feeling. The light implant, the one he had torn out of his own flesh 5 years ago. It had been special extraterrestrial assault Legion tech, a field-expedient medical device that linked his biology to allied alien tech. It was long gone, but the scars remained. And maybe the biology beneath had learned. I have one idea, he said, ripping off the glove. It is stupid, and it is probably going to kill me. We are running out of better options, Nick said. Ash stepped up to the main conduit, a thick, pulsating tube of captured light. He did not use the tools. He placed his bare, calloused hand directly onto the access port. The pain was absolute. It was not heat. It was light. It poured into him, a torrent of pure, white-fire data. He roared, his muscles locking, as the system invaded him. It scanned his blood, his nerves, his DNA. It screamed at his humanness. And then, it found it, deep in his cells, a dormant genetic marker, a scar left by the implant, a ghost protocol, an ancient access key from a time when human and Sangreal tech had first been woven together. The system paused. The screaming light softened. It recognized, not him, but the shape of his biology. It saw the ghost of the First Light Alliance. It accepted him. The core's vibration smoothed. The wild arcs of energy receded. Ash, still connected, felt the ship's systems in his head. He saw the harmonic failure. He knew, instinctively, how to fix it. He pictured the magnetic fields, twisting them with his will, forcing them back into alignment. He felt the ship relax. The thrumming stopped. The core spun, a perfect, stable, blue-white sphere. Ash collapsed, his hand falling from the port. He was breathing heavily, his arms smoking. Selena and Riven rushed to his side. Selena knelt, her hand hovering over his arm. You are burned. He is alive, Nick said, her voice shaking with relief as she read the console. Core stability is at 100%. Ash pushed himself up, wincing. Do not touch my ship ever again. Selena Veilhart looked at him. Her composure was back, but her eyes were wide, luminous, and filled with a new, terrifying light. How did you do that? I got lucky, Ash panted. No, Selena said, standing. Her voice was a whisper. The ship, it recognized you. When you made the connection, it initiated a protocol. A protocol? Ash asked, getting to his feet. A failsafe, Selena said, her expression unreadable. A lifeblood contract. It is an ancient law. When a life is saved, a debt is incurred. The system. It read your biological signature as a valid witness, and it read my presence as the beneficiary. A holographic display shimmered into the air between them. It was a complex weave of light, a contract, and at the bottom, 2 signatures glowed, hers, and a pulsing, raw data approximation of his. It has bound us, Selena said. Our ship's system has made you a legal party to my house. Until the debt is paid. Ash stared at the glowing script. You have got to be kidding me. I do not want to be part of your house. I want to go home. Take it off. It cannot be taken off, Riven said, her voice sharp with a new, unwelcome respect. "It is a contract, sealed in light. It is one of the oldest laws." "Then the debt is paid," Ash said, gesturing to the stable core. "I saved your ship." "We are even—" "You saved our ship," Nick said, stepping forward. She held up her data slate. "But you did not save our captain. And now, we know who is responsible." She tapped the slate. An image appeared. A man, wiry, with eyes that moved too fast, seen from a distance, talking to a robed figure. The logo of the chorus was faint, but visible, on the figure's robe. "Kale Drist," Nick said. "He picked a fight with a special extraterrestrial assault legion operative today at Port Callisto. A diversion. While everyone was chasing him, his associates, under the protection of the chorus, staged the ambush on our captain. They were testing their new weapon." Ash looked at the image. He looked at the three women. He saw the cold, aristocratic fury in their faces. This was not just business. This was personal. "They used Kale Drist as bait," Nix continued, "to prove they could strike at one of the high houses, to show they could experiment on us, and that no one, not even the Legion, would know who to blame. They want to moderate us," Riven spat, "to turn us into passionless, obedient servants, like the rest of the galaxy." Selena Veilheart turned her gaze from the data slate to Ash. Her face was a mask of cold, beautiful rage. "They tested a weapon on my house," she said, her voice dangerously soft. "They allied with the chorus to do it. And now, we are going to return the favor." "This is a High House's matter," Ash said, backing away. "It has nothing to do with me. The contract is void. I am out." Selena took a step toward him. She pointed at the glowing contract still floating in the air. "You do not understand, Mr. Morgan. That contract does not just bind you to me. It makes you responsible. In the eyes of interstellar law, a human cannot be held accountable for a blood feud, but a contracted agent of a high house can—" She tapped the contract. Ash's signature pulsed brightly. "This," Selena said, "makes you the legally accountable point man for our entire operation. You are not just a witness. Ash, you are our shield, our legal justification." "You want payback," Ash said, the full, horrifying reality dawning on him. "We planned the payback the moment we saw the data," Nix corrected, a thin, cold smile on her lips. Riven Thorn finished the thought, her own smile matching her sister's. "But you, Mr. Morgan, you just gave us the lead." The engine room of the Sangreal ship felt like a tomb. The air was still. The blue-white core pulsed with a steady, living rhythm, and the glowing contract between Ash and Selena hung in the air like a judgment. Ash rubbed his scorched hand, the skin smarting. "Let us get this straight. You, the three most powerful-looking women I have ever met, need me, a grease monkey, to be your legal—" "What did you call it, your point man?" "A mechanic," Riventhorn corrected, her arms crossed. Her anger from the docking bay had been replaced by a sharp, assessing stare. "And a former Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion operative. The system scan of your biology was quite detailed. You did not just have an implant, Mr. Morgan. You were bonded with it. The first light protocols are deep in your cells." "That is supposed to be history I buried," Ash said, his voice dropping. "Nothing is history," Nix Alabaster said softly. She had already moved to the ship's main console, her fingers a blur, cross-referencing her data slate with the ship's logs. "There is only information that is currently suppressed. We are going to unsuppress it, and you are going to help. That contract is a legal fiction. It is a glitch in a ship's computer," Ash argued, gesturing at the shimmering script. "It is a magical legal framework. You idiot," Riven snapped. "It is not a glitch. It is law. Bloodlight law. It is more binding than any human treaty. Selena Veilhart raised a hand. Riven fell silent. But her glare remained. Selena's composure was flawless, but Ash could see the cold fire in her eyes. She is, in her own way, correct. The contract holds. It binds you to our cause, but it also binds us to you. We must explain the rules of this. Engagement. She walked toward him. This is not a human vendetta. Ash. We do not just hunt down Kale Drist and Archon Halbrecht in a dark alley. The high houses are bound by the bloodlight accords. We require judgment by light. We need irrefutable proof that the chorus, through Halbrecht, and using Kyle, willfully violated the biological sovereignty of the Sangreal people. Without that proof, we are just assassins. With it, we are executioners. And the payback, Ash asked. Is debt paid in honor? Selena finished. Once judgment is proven, we are authorized by our own laws to retrieve the debt in a manner of our choosing. Annihilation, public disgrace, financial ruin, all are on the table. So you need proof, Ash said, that Halbrecht and Kale knew they were testing a bioweapon. Precisely, Nix said from the console. Kale Drist is the weak link. He is a data broker. He would not have taken a job this big without a light ledger to prove he would get paid. Ash sighed. The exhaustion of the past hour hitting him like a physical weight. He had just wanted to fix ships. Fine. You want to find Kale. He is a ghost. He moves through data. I move through engine grease. But your bot does not, Nix said, pointing a sharp finger at Milo 9, who was peeking out from behind a conduit. Milo 9, Ash said. The bot. You want my bot to find a master spy. Milo 9 is an antique, boss. The bot's voice chirped, full of digital indignation. That means my core programming predates the chorus. I do not have their mandatory moderation patches. I am, in technical terms, a rude, unregulated little chaos agent. A flicker of a smile touched Nix's lips. Exactly. Kale's trail from Port Callisto was loud, but it went cold an hour ago in the Undercity Market. The zero-gravity bazaar. He is hiding inside a data shadow. A shadow you three cannot enter, Ash realized. They were luminaries. They would be recognized in a nanosecond. But I can... And Milo 9 can sniff, Nix finished. Go. Find the node he is using. Get us that ledger. Ash looked at Selena. And what are you doing while I am walking into the bazaar? We, Selena said, are assembling our payback. We cannot move as a high house, but we can move as individuals. We have friends. People who also dislike the chorus. She looked at him, her gaze intense. You are our point man, Ash. Go get us a target. The Undercity Market was a chaotic, spinning sphere of commerce. It was not a flat floor. It was a bubble. Thousands of shops, stalls, and floating platforms were packed into a zero-gravity sphere, lit by a chaotic riot of neon signs and holographic advertisements. People drifted through the air on controlled bursts from thruster packs, or pulled themselves along the guide cables that crisscrossed the void. The air smelled of 100 different alien foods, spilled synthahol, and unrecycled sweat. Ash kept his head down, his heavy jacket making him look like just another laborer. Milo 9 was nestled in his backpack, only its primary optical sensor peeking out. This place is disgusting, Milo 9 whispered over their private comlink. My sensors are picking up 8 different kinds of fungal spore, and at least 2 species of unregistered vermin. Focus, Milo, Ash murmured, grabbing a cable to pull himself toward a cluster of data kiosks. Where is Kale's trail? He was sloppy, boss. Very sloppy. He left echo fragments all over the public network. He is trying to look like a tourist, but he is looping, always staying within 500 meters of a central point. Where? That is the tricky part, Milo said. He is not using a single node. He is spreading his signal across dozens of them. But the source? The source is masked by a powerful, affect static shell. It is a basic chorus filter, designed to make you feel calm and bored when you look at it. It makes your eyes slide right off. Can you see through it? Ash asked, drifting past a stall selling live, wriggling Zethian eels. Please. That static is a lullaby for babies. I am listening for the carrier wave beneath it. Give me a minute. Just keep browsing, and try not to breathe so deep. Ash floated, pretending to examine a rack of pre-owned pressure suits. He felt the familiar tension, the pre-mission hum in his blood he thought he had left behind with the Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion. He was back in the game, and he hated how natural it felt. Got it, Milo 9 suddenly chirped, his voice vibrating with digital smugness. Oh, that is clever. It is not a data den. It is not a server farm. What is it, Milo? It is a tea shop. The Quiet Comet. Right in the center axis. The quietest, most boring-looking place in the entire market. And it is pumping out enough static to pacify a medium-sized city. Ash turned, pushing off a girder. The Quiet Comet was a small, rotating platform. It was serene. Bonsai trees, real ones, were tethered to the tables. A small waterfall flowed in a perfect, contained loop. And it was, as Milo 9 had said, completely empty. Everyone's gaze just slid past it. It was the perfect hiding place. I am going in, Ash said. Boss, that is a bad idea. That effect static shell will put you to sleep. Literally. You will sit down for a cup of tea and just forget why you are angry. That is why you are not, Ash said. He unzipped his pack. You are going in through the back. Find their server. I will keep the proprietor busy. Proprietor boss, there is no one in there. There is always someone, Ash said. He landed on the platform, his heavy boots clanging on the deck. The sound was offensively loud in the quiet. He felt the static immediately. It was a soft, warm blanket in his mind, telling him everything was fine, that he was tired, that he just needed a rest. He fought it, focusing on the grit under his fingernails, the ache in his burned hand. We are closed, a voice said. It came from a man who had been standing behind the counter, perfectly still, disguised by the shadows of a large bonsai. He was human, but his eyes were flat, his face utterly serene. A servant of the chorus. I just want a cup of tea, Ash said, his voice a low growl. He forced himself to walk toward the counter. The air was thick, like moving through psychic molasses. We are not serving tea, the man said, his voice slow. Milo. Now, Ash whispered. I am in, boss. Milo 9's voice was a sharp needle in his ear, cutting through the fog. I am past the firewall. Oh, this is not just a hideout. This is a full-on chorus node, a repeater station. They are using this place to broadcast. Get the ledger, Ash grunted, leaning on the counter. The calm was so heavy, he wanted to sleep. I am looking, but boss, I found something else. This static. It is not just static. It is a program. It is called the culling hymn. It does not just make you calm. It actively deletes feelings. Anger, inspiration, loyalty. It scrubs them. This is not a pacifier, boss. This is a weapon. The proprietor's eyes snapped into focus. The calm was gone. You, the man hissed. You are not moderated. He lunged, not with a knife, but with a small, handheld device. Ash moved, his old training taking over. He swept the man's arm aside, slamming his elbow into his chest, pushing him back against the wall. The proprietor folded, but his face was not angry. It was just confused. I have it, Milo. 9 shrieked. I have the light ledger. It is encrypted. But it is all here. Kale Drist's private files. I am downloading it now. Get out, boss. He triggered a silent alarm. Ash did not need to be told. He sprinted for the edge of the platform and dove off, firing his small belt thruster, just enough to send him careening into the chaotic traffic of the market. He looked back. 2 figures in the gray, nondescript uniforms of the chorus's internal security were already landing on the tea shop's platform. He blended into the crowd, his heart hammering. He was no longer a mechanic. He was a target. Back in the safety of the Sangreal ship, now hidden in a different, deeper dock. The mood was tense. Nyx had the ledger. She was working, her fingers flying, as Milo 9 perched on her shoulder, offering smug advice. The encryption is light-based, Nyx murmured. He tied it to a specific stellar flare. It is good. But not as good as me, Milo Note chirped. Try routing it through a predictive algorithm based on the star's rotational decay. He is arrogant, so he used a public phenomenon. Nyx's eyebrow rose. She typed. The file snapped open. They all crowded around. It was not just a payment ledger. It was a diary. It was Kale Drist's whole operation. And the target was not just their captain. It was the entire Sangreal race. But more importantly, the payments. They were not from Kale Drist. They were to him. And the authorizing signature was not a name. It was a title. Archon Halbrecht, Selena read, her voice a frozen whisper. The chorus's chief commercial representative for the Oraline Spindle. He is more than that, Riven said, her face pale. He is the one who moderates the trade councils. He has diplomatic immunity. He is the one, Nyx said, pointing to a line item. Who authorized payment for field testing the culling him on a biologically resistant target? Us. There it was. Judgment by light, the proof. He is untouchable, Riven said, pacing. We cannot strike at an Archon. It would be an act of war. We cannot, Ash said. But he can. He looked at the sisters. This is not my world. This is not my fight. But that contract, he spat the word, makes me your problem. So, if we are doing this, we are doing it my way. He turned to a blank wall, and it lit up at his gesture, turning into a data board. We are not soldiers. Not yet. We are a recon team. We need eyes, ears, and a way to hit them where they are not looking. Nyx, you are intel. Riven, you are my hammer. Selena. He looked at her. You are command. You keep the high houses off our back. And you, Ash? Selena asked. I am the trainer, he said. You 3 are powerful, but you are aristocrats. You do not know how to fight dirty. I am going to teach you, and you are going to bring me your friends. Selena's friends were not what Ash expected. They were not other high house heiresses. They were hybrids, half-breeds, and outcasts. Sangreal who lived on the fringes, who had human blood, who did not fit in. Juno Slate was a pilot, a woman with the sharp eyes of a human and the pale, luminous skin of her Sangreal mother. She flew freighters, and her ship was the fastest, ugliest thing Ash had ever seen. Orion Pike was a sharpshooter, a tall, impossibly thin man with Sangreal eyes that could apparently see heat, motion, and probability. He said little, and practiced constantly with a long, custom-built rifle. Tamsin Crow was their tech, a human woman who had been raised in a Sangreal enclave. She specialized in jamming, in finding frequencies that hurt. She was the one who could counter the chorus's tech. Ash drove them for 3 days. In a cargo hold, he converted into a training ground. He ran them through special extraterrestrial assault legion drills, close-quarters combat, sensor blind insertions, target identification under stress. He broke them down and built them back up as a team. Riven, to his surprise, was his most dedicated student. She fought him, literally, every step of the way. "This is brutish. This is not how we fight," she would yell, just before he put her on the ground. "You fight with law and money," Ash would grunt, offering a hand to help her up. "Our enemy fights with weapons that turn your mind to soup. We are going to be faster, quieter, and meaner. Again." In the quiet hours, when the team was sleeping, he would find himself on the ship's observation deck with Selena. The ship was silent, aimed at the churning, bright face of the white dwarf star. "You are good at this," she said one night, her voice soft. They stood side by side, not looking at each other. "I was," he corrected, "a long time ago." "You are afraid of it," she stated. It was not a question. He said nothing, just watched the star. The chorus," she began, her voice hesitant, a vulnerability he had never heard. "They offered moderation to our people, generations ago. They said it would help us integrate. Some of the high houses accepted. They called it memory cleansing, a way to remove the trauma of our long lives." She turned to him, her luminous eyes searching his. "They did not just remove trauma, Ash. They removed us. Our passions, our history. My own great-grandmother. She is alive. She is ancient. And she is empty. A pleasant shell. That is what Halbrecht wants for us all. A galaxy of polite, pleasant shells." Ash finally looked at her. He saw his own fear reflected in her gaze. The fear of being controlled. The fear of having yourself, your memories, your identity, stripped away by a system that claimed it was for your own good. His life in the special extraterrestrial assault legion, the implants, the orders he could not question. He had run from it. Selena was being forced to stand and fight it. "I will not let that happen to you, Selena," he said. The words were out before he could stop them. They felt true. She held his gaze, and a spark, a tiny, dangerous flicker of warmth, passed between them. It was terrifying. The moment was broken by Nix's voice over the comm. "We have a problem. Halbrecht is making a move. He knows we have the ledger." They found him in the Spindle's main plaza. It was a massive, open-air park, simulating a blue sky. Archon Halbrecht was on a raised platform, giving a speech about commercial virtues. He was a tall, handsome man, his face serene, his voice a soothing balm broadcast to the thousands in the crowd. "He knows we are here," Juno whispered, scanning the crowd from their observation point. "He is not just giving a speech," Tamsin said, her face pale as she read her censor board. "He is broadcasting, right now, the culling hymn, Full Power." Ash looked at the crowd. They were placid. Their faces were calm, receptive, and utterly blank. Then, two of Halbrecht's gray-suited security officers dragged a figure onto the stage. It was a Xeno, a tall, insectoid creature from a species Ash did not recognize. It was chittering, terrified. "And so," Halbrecht's calm voice boomed, "we must purge that which does not align with commercial harmony. We must remove inefficiency." One of the security officers raised a weapon and, without ceremony, executed the alien. A spray of blue ichor stained the stage. The crowd watched. They did not scream. They did not gasp. They did not move. They just observed, a mild, passive interest on their faces. "He is showing us," Selena whispered, her hand gripping Ash's arm so hard her nails dug in. "He is showing us what the hymn can do. He is showing us that he can kill, and no one will care." The execution was a message. It was Halbrecht's opening move. Ash watched, his stomach turning. He saw the blank faces, the absolute erasure of empathy. And he felt Not the cold rage of a soldier, but a hot, defiant, human spark. He turned to Tamsin. "That him," he said. "It is a frequency. Right, it can be jammed." "Jammed? Yes," Tamsin said. "But not blocked. It is too powerful. It is like trying to stop a tidal wave with a bucket." "Then we do not stop it," Ash said, a wild, dangerous idea forming. "We pollute it. We give it static it cannot moderate." "What static?" Orion asked, his voice a low rumble. Ash smiled, a hard, cold smile that did not reach his eyes. "He is fighting with apathy. We are going to fight back with humanity." He turned to his team, his voice ringing with the command he had sworn he would never use again. "Juno, get your ship. Orion, I want you in the rafters. Nyx, I need you to hack the plaza's audio system. Tamsin, you are with me. And Milo, I need you to go to the labor districts." "The labor districts, boss," the bot chirped. "But they are so loud." "Exactly," Ash said. "I do not want data. I want noise. I want you to record it all. The sound of welding, of arguments over cards, of babies crying. And," he leaned in, "I want laughter. Find the loudest, ugliest, most beautifully human laughter you can, and record it." "He is showing them apathy," Ash said, turning back to the plaza. "We are going to show them chaos." He looked at Halbrecht, the serene, untouchable man on the stage. "We are going to hit him with a frequency he has never dreamed of. We are going to hit him with the sound of people living." The plaza was silent. Halbrecht was gone. The body of the murdered Zeno had been efficiently removed. The crowd, their emotions gently scrubbed, had dispersed, feeling nothing but a mild, lingering sense of civic duty. Back on the ship, the team was wired, angry, and shaken. "He did it right in front of us," Juno Slate said, her knuckles white as she gripped the pilot's yoke. "He just did it. And nobody even flinched." "That is the culling him," Tamsin Crow murmured, her face pale as she reviewed her sensor data. "It is not just a broadcast. It is a blanket. It dampens the neural pathways for empathy." "We are going to tear that blanket apart," Ash said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. "Tamsin, Milo, that noise you recorded, the laughter, the arguments, can you weaponize it?" Tamsin looked up, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. "Weaponize Ash. I can make it sing. The hymn works by creating a perfect, uniform sine wave of calm. It is orderly, human chaos. True, messy, emotional noise is its polar opposite. If I can piggyback our signal onto their broadcast, it will act like a crowbar. It will shatter their frequency." "Good," Ash said, "because we are not just going to jam them. We are going to break their toys. Nyx. Where does Halbrecht keep his emitters? Nyx Alabaster. Already cross-referencing shipping manifests with Kale's ledger. Did not even look up. He is smarter than that. They are not in one place. They are distributed. But the primary nodes, the ones powerful enough to blanket the plaza, they are routed through 3 main warehouses: Sector Gamma, Sector Epsilon, and this one, Sector Umbra, a cold storage facility near the outer ring. That is our target, Ash said. We hit it. We create a hole in his calm blanket. Then, when he sends his forces to fix it, we hit them with Tamsin's masterpiece. This is rash, Riventhorn said, stepping forward. She was a coiled spring of contained energy. We have the proof. We should take this to the high houses. Let them handle Halbrecht through legal channels. Legal channels, Ash scoffed. He is the legal channels. He just executed someone in a public park to prove it. He is using a bioweapon against the minds of everyone on this station. We are done with legal. We are doing this my way. Tactical. Selena Veilhart, who had been silent, finally spoke. She is right. Riven, the law has failed. This is pest control. The raid on the Sector Umbra warehouse was fast, dark, and violent. Tamsin and Milo 9 set up in a service tunnel 2 blocks away, their equipment hardwired into the station's raw data conduit. Ash, Riven, and Orion Pike went in through the roof. The warehouse was a cavern of freezing fog and shadows, aisles of cryo containers stacked 100 feet high. The emitters are on the central grid, sub-level 2. Nyx's voice whispered in their ears. She was their eye in the sky, running remote intel from the ship. But be careful. I am reading active security patrols. Gray suits. Chorus internal. Orion, Ash murmured. Roof. Cover. Affirmative. The sharpshooter rumbled and vanished into the high darkness of the rafters. Riven, you are with me. We move on my mark. They dropped. A controlled fall into the fog, landing silently on a catwalk. Below them, they saw the emitters. They were not just small boxes. They were large, resonating discs, pulsing with a faint, sickening, gray light. Guards, Riven hissed. 2 gray-suited figures were patrolling the discs. Ash tapped his throat. Orion, 2, sub-level, left. There was no sound, no flash, just 2, almost imperceptible thwips. The 2 guards crumpled, their rifles clattering on the metal deck. Clear. Orion's voice came. Ash and Riven moved, placing Tamsin's explosive charges on the emitters. These were not designed for a large blast, but a precise, high-energy pulse. Charges set, Ash whispered. Nyx, how are we? Wait. Nyx's voice cut him off, suddenly tight. I am detecting a feedback loop. It is not just the emitters. There is a central control node. If you blow them, it will trigger a system-wide alert and reroute the signal. Where is it? Ash demanded. Inside the main coolant regulator, Nyx said. 20 meters from your position, but it is shielded. I cannot disable it from here. Someone has to do a physical override. I can guide you. There is no time, Riven said. I am closer. A new voice said. Nyx. She was not on the ship. She was in the warehouse. Nyx, what did you do? Ash snarled. I told you to stay on the ship. And I told you I am the intel officer, she replied. Her voice strained. She emerged from a ventilation shaft just above the regulator. I saw the anomaly in the schematics. I had to be sure. I am at the panel. She began to work, her fingers flying over an access port. She is a fool, Riven hissed, but her eyes were locked on her sister's exposed position. She is a dedicated fool, Ash said. Orion, cover her. Riven, with me. We are getting those charges live. Suddenly, the warehouse doors crashed open. Floodlights. At least a dozen gray suits poured in, rifles up. It was a trap, Ash yelled. Orion, light them up. Orion's rifle began its steady, precise work. Gray suits fell, but there were too many. They were spreading out, using the cryo containers for cover. Nyx, get out of there! Selena's voice shrieked over the comm. She was on the ship, watching this nightmare unfold through their helmet feeds. I am almost in, Nyx cried. The firewall is strong. A gray suit saw her. He raised his rifle. No, Riven screamed, and she broke cover, firing her sidearm, a blur of motion as she drew his fire. Nyx, now, Ash yelled. I am in, Nyx shouted. She jammed a data spike into the port. The emitters did not just power down. They shrieked. A wave of raw, psychic feedback erupted from the central node, aimed right at the source of the attack, Nyx. She screamed, a high, thin sound that cut through the gunfire. She did not just fall. She was thrown from the platform, her body limp, and crashed onto the catwalk below. "Nix!" Riven shrieked. Ash was already moving. He threw a smoke grenade, grabbed Riven. "Orion, cover our retreat. We are blowing the charges." He scooped up Nix's unmoving form, his mind numb. She was light. Too light. He hit the detonator. The explosions were precise. The gray emitters cracked. The psychic shriek cut off. Ash and Riven, carrying Nix between them, disappeared into the smoke-filled service tunnels as Orion's covering fire rained down from above. The debrief was not a debrief. It was an accusation. Nix was alive, but barely. She was in the ship's medbay, floating in a pod of glowing photoplasm, her body stable but her mind gone. The feedback loop had burned out her neural pathways. She was in a deep, unresponsive coma. Riven Thorn stood in the center of the bridge, shaking. She was not crying. She was beyond tears. She was incandescent with rage. "You," she whispered, her voice a razor's edge, pointing a trembling finger at Ash. "This is your fault. You and your human tactics." Ash stood, his arms crossed, his face a mask of stone. She knew the risks. "Risks," Riven shrieked. "This is not a game, you hot-blooded human. This is not one of your brutish Legion assaults. This was supposed to be a judgment by light, a clean, legal extraction of proof. But you had to make it a war. You had to push. You had to bring your payback and your chaos into our world. And now, my sister is a shell." "Riven, that is enough," Selena said, her voice shaking. "No, it is not enough." Riven whirled on her sister. You let this broken, primitive man take control. You gave him command. He is the one who dragged us into this. He is the reason Nix is in that tank." Ash said nothing. He just watched her, his jaw tightening. "Riven." Selena's voice was no longer shaking. It was ice. It cut through Riven's rage, stopping her cold. Selena Veilhart stepped forward, positioning herself between her sister and Ash. "You are right about one thing," Selena said, her voice low and dangerous. "I gave him command, and he still has it." Riven stared, aghast. "After Nix." "Yes," Selena said. "You quote the law. Then let us quote the law. The Bloodlight Accords. The enemy, Archon Halbrecht, used a bioweapon. He used it not on a Sangreal vessel, but on the ground of a human majority station. The law is clear. The rules of engagement are dictated by the territory." She turned to Ash, her eyes locking with his. "This is human territory, Riven. This is his land, his rules. The contract binds him to our cause, but it also binds us to his command. He is our point man. He has tactical command. That is the law, and you will obey it." Riven looked as if she had been slapped. The anger was still there, but it was now trapped, choked by the cold, hard logic of her own law. She gave Ash one look of pure, unadulterated hatred, then turned and stormed from the bridge. The silence that remained was heavier than the gunfire had been. "She is right," Ash said quietly, not looking at Selena. "I pushed too hard. I underestimated him." "We all did," Selena said. "What now, Commander?" He flinched at the title. He looked at the door to the medbay, where Nix lay silent. Then he looked at the star chart, where Archon Halbrecht was a shadow. "Now," Ash said, his voice hardening, "he is not just an enemy. He is a target. He thinks we are broken. He thinks we are just a few angry aristocrats and one washed-up soldier. He took the bait. He trapped us. Now, we are going to set a trap of our own." He turned to the tactical display. "He thinks I am just a hot-blooded human. He is right. He picked a fight with a civilian." But he is about to find out what happens when he picks a fight with a special extraterrestrial assault legion operative. Ash's plan was simple, elegant, and brutal. He used his old, untraceable military back channels. He planted a seed, a rumor. A disgraced special extraterrestrial assault legion operative, the same one who had been provoked at Port Callisto, was now unhinged. His Sangreal partner, the captain of the ship, had been murdered. Now, the operative was going rogue. He was planning to send a message. He was going to detonate a fuel processing plant at Peregrine Gate. "He will not believe it," Juno said, her voice full of doubt. "He will," Ash said, "because he is arrogant. He believes humans are primitive, emotional creatures. And because he cannot have an act of human terrorism, disrupt the perfect calm he has created on his station. He will not send his troops. He will come himself, to prove he has control." Archon Halbrecht took the bait. Peregrine Gate was a vast, multi-leveled cargo port. It was all gantries, cranes, and shifting containers. Juno's micro-drones, painted to look like rust, were invisible in the high struts. Tamsin's field mines, small devices that would emit a high-frequency, disorienting pulse, were scattered like loose change. Orion Pike was nested 1 kilometer away, his rifle aimed at the heart of the landing pad. Tamsin and Milo 9 were in a stolen utility van, packed with broadcasting equipment. "Boss," Milo 9's voice chirped in Ash's ear. "I have the audio files, the recordings from the labor district. I found a recording of a kindergarten class during recess." "The laughter," Ash asked. "It is pure chaos, boss," Milo 9 said. "It is actually a little unsettling. It is perfect." Halbrecht's convoy arrived. 3 sleek, black vehicles. They did not stop. They flowed. The gray-suited security guards emerged, fanning out, their movements perfectly synchronized. Halbrecht himself stepped out, tall and serene, his eyes scanning the port. "Spring the trap," Ash ordered. Juno's drones activated, projecting a holographic ghost of a heavily armed Ash running between containers. "Target acquired," a gray suit yelled, and they opened fire. Their pulse rounds passed harmlessly through the image. "Now, Tamsin," Ash said. Tamsin's field mines activated. The guards cried out, clutching their heads as their own calm frequencies were turned against them, amplified into an agonizing feedback loop. "Orion," Ash said. "Engines. Disable them." 3 thwips, and the engines on all 3 vehicles exploded in a shower of sparks. Halbrecht was trapped. "Milo," Ash said. "Play the song." Milo 9 hit the broadcast. It was not a jam. It was an invasion. The sound of 1,000 human arguments, of welding torches, of babies crying, and over it all, the high, shrieking, beautiful sound of children laughing. It flooded the comms. It shattered the culling hymn. The gray suits, their minds already weakened, faltered. They looked confused, their perfect discipline breaking. "It is working," Juno breathed. But Halbrecht was not panicking. He stood beside his vehicle, a small, cold smile on his face. He raised a hand, not to fight, but to a small device on his wrist. "He is broadcasting," Tamsin yelled. "It is! It is a new signal, a white chorus." It was not a lullaby. It was a command. All around the port, the civilians, the dock workers, the shopkeepers, the travelers, they stopped. They turned. Their faces, which had been registering confusion at the firefight, went utterly blank. And they began to walk. They walked calmly, from all directions, into the center of the port. They walked past the faltering guards. They walked into the line of fire. They formed a silent, living wall around Archon Halbrecht. Orion's voice was grim. "Ash, I have a shot. A clear shot. Through the gap. I can take him. Right now. Ash watched. He saw the blank faces, the empty eyes, the human shields. Stand down, Orion, Ash whispered. He was haunted. This was his nightmare. Ash, I have the shot. I said stand down, Ash roared. Tamsin, kill the mines. Juno, pull your drones. Everyone, egress, now. We are leaving. The retreat was silent. The victory was a handful of ash. They left Halbrecht standing there, untouched, protected by the very people he was oppressing. Back on the ship, the bridge was a powder keg. Riven was shaking. He used them. He used humans. And you let him go. You let him win. We should have pushed through. We should have taken the shot. And hit who? Riven. Ash's voice was dangerously low. The dock worker, the woman pushing her child. Who? Who were you willing to sacrifice? This is war, she screamed. There is always sacrifice. Blood for blood, that is the law. That is not my law, Ash roared, his control finally, totally shattering. He slammed his fist on the tactical table, the metal groaning in protest. They were civilians. They were controlled. We do not answer with their blood. Ever. This discussion is over. He turned and left the bridge. The silence he left behind absolute. Later. Much later. Ash stood on the observation deck. The ship was dark, running on silent systems, hidden in a deep space docking bay. He stared at the fierce, white-hot light of the dwarf star, and he let the memories he had tried to bury come, the faces, the screams, the impossible choices. He heard her before he saw her, the faintest footfall. Selena Veilhart came to stand beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. I used to have them moderated, he said, his voice a rough, unused thing. The memories, the special extraterrestrial assault legion, they offered it. Operational cleansing. A way to keep soldiers effective. I had the face of a man I could not pull from a fire. Removed. The sound of a barricade bomb. Erased. He turned to look at her. I ran from the chorus. Selena. A different version of it. I thought, if I just cut the wires, if I just disconnected, I would be free. But the memory of the wires, it is still there. She met his gaze, her luminous eyes filled with a sadness that mirrored his own. We do not have that luxury, she whispered. We cannot remove our memories. We just accumulate them. For centuries. She looked away, back to the star. You fear being controlled. I fear controlling. What do you mean? The bite, she said. A bitter word. The bloodlight bond. It is not. It is not like in your stories. It is not romantic. It is permanent. A psychic, biological union. If I were to love someone, if I were to take the bite, the law would bind him to me, forever. He would be mine, his will, his life, bound to my house. She looked at him, and her pain was a physical thing. How can I know I love someone? She asked. If the moment I do, the law says I must own him, or he must own me, I want the choice. Ash, the one you have, the freedom to walk away, even if you do not use it. The air was thick with unspoken things. He saw the woman, not the heiress. He saw the prisoner of a different kind of war. He took a step toward her, his hand half raised. The comm on his wrist chirped, a harsh, invasive sound. It was Nyx. Her voice was a weak, digitized croak. Ash, Selena, you need to see this. The medbay was dark, save for the glow of Nyx's pod. She was awake, Barely. Her eyes were open, and she was looking at a data slate projected in the air. "It came through," she whispered, her voice rasping. "A dozen dead-end relays. It is from Kyle Drist." The message was a data fragment, corrupted, but readable. Halbrecht. Cleaning house. My ledger. Just the appetizer. Chorus. Purging me. He thinks. He is smart. A string of code flashed. He forgot. I was a spy. Before. I was a broker. He is deleting. The evidence. But I know. Where the original evidence is. A set of coordinates appeared. A name. The Crypt of Morning. Nix breathed. A pre-war data vault. Everything. Everything they did. All the cleansing. It is all there. The message ended. Avenge me. Vampire. Or do not. Just burn him. The signal died. Ash, Selena, and Riven, who had come in, stood staring at the coordinates. Nix looked up, her eyes clear for the first time in days. I ran a check. Archon Halbrecht's security forces apprehended Kale Drist 10 minutes ago. She took a slow, painful breath. He was killed while resisting arrest. The message from a dead man hung in the silence of the medbay. Kale Drist was gone, an inconvenient loose end, but his final act of spite had given them a target, the Crypt of Morning. It is not on any modern star chart, Nix Alabaster said. She was no longer in the medical pod, but she was a pale shadow of her former self. She sat in a diagnostic chair, a thin, fiber-optic mesh over her head, her face still gaunt from the psychic assault. Her recovery had been partial, a painful climb back to coherence, but her mind, she insisted, was still sharp. Kale sent pre-war coordinates. It is not a place. It is a ghost, a data vault from before the chorus, left in a decaying orbit. A honeypot, Ash said, his arms crossed. It is a trap. Kyle sent it. Halbrecht let him send it, and now he is waiting for us. Or, Selena said, her voice quiet. Kale was a spy, and a spy's greatest weapon is a failsafe. He knew he would be purged. This is his final move, a dead man's switch. It does not matter if it is a trap, Riventhorn said, her voice hard. She had been sharpening a combat knife, the sound a steady, abrasive rasp. It is the only move we have. We go. We take the data, and we burn Halbrecht with it. Ash looked at the team. Riven was a blade of pure anger. Nix was a ghost, held together by will and technology. Selena was a queen, her calm exterior cracking under the strain of leadership and her own visible, unspoken fear for her sister. And his team of hybrids. Juno, Orion, Tamsin. They were soldiers now, their earlier hesitation replaced by a grim resolve. Juno, Ash said, turning to the pilot. The coordinates. Can you fly us there without the entire spindle knowing? Juno Slate looked at the data, a faint smile touching her lips. The coordinates are in a dark sector, full of gravimetric distortion and sensor ghosts. The official ships avoid it. But my old freighter. She was built for smuggling ice through sensor nets. I can get us there, but it will be a rough ride. Good, Ash said. Tamsin. Milo 9. I want you two to build a firewall that a god could not crack. When we plug into that crypt, I do not want Halbrecht even to smell us. Orion, Riven, you are on weapons. Selena, Nix, you are on intel. We go in dark. We go in fast. We are ghosts. The Crypt of Morning was not a building. It was a wound. It hung in the black, a spinning, crystalline structure, like a snowflake made of obsidian. It was ancient, non-human, and it drank the light from the distant white dwarf, leaving a patch of perfect, terrifying darkness. Juno's freighter. its transponders off, its engines running on a cold, silent burn, drifted toward it like a piece of debris. Gods, Tamsin whispered from her console. The architecture. It is all wrong. The angles. They are hurting my eyes. It is pre-Allied tech, Nix whispered, her fingers flying over her console, her face slick with sweat. The effort was costing her. It is a harmonic construct. It is built out of solidified equations. The door is not a door. It is a logical problem. We are at the ingress point, Juno said, her voice tense. The ship shuddered as small thrusters fired, matching the crypt's slow, erratic tumble. I cannot get us any closer. We go on foot from here. Ash, Selena, Nix, Ash commanded. You are with me, Riven. You have the ship. Keep the engines warm. I am not a shuttle driver, Riven snarled. No, Ash said, his voice flat. You are our escape. You are the most important part of this. We get stuck. You get us out. We are compromised. You burn a hole in that thing and get us. You are in command out here. Riven's anger faltered, replaced by a grudging respect. She nodded, her grip on her knife tightening. Do not be slow. Ash, Selena, and a trembling but resolute Nix, along with Milo 9, crossed on a tether. The surface of the crypt was glass smooth, cold, and pulsed with a faint, internal rhythm. They found the ingress point a perfect circle of seamless black crystal. This is it, Nix said, leaning on the wall for support. The door, the logical lock. It is asking for verification. What verification? Ash asked. Two-factor, Nix breathed, reading the faint, alien script that now glowed on the wall. It requires a consciousness of absolute complexity, a high status, lineage-verified sangreal, and a consciousness of absolute simplicity, a mind untouched, unnetworked, biologically isolated. A high house heiress, Selena said, stepping forward. And me, Ash finished, realizing. The man with no wires. It is a failsafe, Nix said, to ensure no one faction could ever open it. Selena placed her hand on the panel. The crystal glowed a deep, royal blue, acknowledging her. Then, it pulsed, and the light turned a questioning red. It is waiting for you, Ash, she said. Ash stepped up, placing his scarred, calloused hand next to hers. The crystal did not just scan him. It read him. He felt it. Not like the ship's lifeblood, but like a cold, ancient, judging intelligence. It sifted through his memories, his intentions. The light stayed red. It is not working, Tamsin's voice crackled over the comm. What is wrong? It is not just a biological check, Nix whispered, her eyes wide. It is a moral check. It is looking for something. The red light pulsed faster. A query appeared in Ash's mind. It was not a word, but a concept, intent. What is it doing? Selena asked, her hands still pressed to the cold surface. Ash looked at their hands, side by side. He remembered the engine room, the heat, the terror. He remembered saving their ship. He had not done it for money. He had not done it for a contract. He had done it because it was his job, because a core was melting, and he was the only one who could stop it. He focused on that. Not the war, not the payback, just the act. The simple, uncomplicated act of fixing what was broken. I was not trying to take anything, he thought, directing it at the door. I was just stopping it from exploding. The crypt went utterly still. The red light faded. Then, a new light appeared. A soft, warm, golden glow. It originated from his hand and flowed to hers. What is that? Selena asked, her voice hushed. It is accepting you, Nix breathed, in awe. It is. It is verifying a genuine gesture of goodwill, an act of selfless preservation. It is an ancient ethical protocol. It is. It is like the first, purest form of the bloodlight law. It says you are truthful. The seamless circle of crystal dissolved into a mist of light, revealing a dark tunnel. Well, Milo 9 chirped from Ash's shoulder. That is one way to pick a lock. Good job being a decent person, boss. Apparently, it is a rare commodity. Let us move, Ash said, and they plunged into the darkness. The inside was a library of ghosts. It was vast, mechanical, and yet sacred. Data streams flowed like water through crystalline pipes in the walls. The air was cold, and the gravity was wrong. It was a low, shifting, uneven pull. Nyx, her strength returning in the proximity of so much raw, ancient data, led them to the central chamber. This is it, the Master Archive, the lullabies of obedience. It was a forest of light pillars, and on each pillar, a history. By the stars, Selena whispered, touching one. Ash looked. It was a historical record, a massive, planet-wide uprising on a colony world he had never heard of. It showed rioting, speeches, battles, and then, abruptly, it showed peace, a perfect, placid calm. The entry was archived by the chorus, with a note, regional conflict resolved via mandatory moderation. They did not resolve it, Ash said, his blood running cold. They deleted it. They deleted them? Nyx said, her voice shaking. She pointed to another pillar. Look, these are our own records. The high houses. Look. It was a list. House Alabaster, House Thorn, and House Veilheart, and beside each, a list of names. Generations of them, all marked with the same symbol. What is that? Selena asked, her voice a thread. Emotionally cleansed, Nyx read, her voice breaking. To ensure stability, to make them soft partners, puppets. Selena stared at the name of her great-grandmother, the woman Ash had heard her describe as an empty shell. It was on the list. They did not just do this to humans, Selena whispered, her rage a physical, shimmering aura in the cold room. They did this to us. They hollowed us out. And here is the authorization, Nyx said, pointing to a central, glowing pillar. The original master plan, the lullabies of obedience, signed by Archon Halbrecht. No, Ash said, reading the screen. Signed by his predecessor. This has been going on for generations. We have it, Selena said, her voice like steel. Milo, Tamsin, download everything. We have a problem. Juno's voice suddenly cut in, sharp with panic. Heavy ships, Boss 3 of them, Chorus Security. They just dropped out of warp, and they are hot. They are blocking our exit. Halbrecht, Ash snarled. He knew. He let us find it. He let us open it. And now he is sealing the tomb. They are launching boarding parties, Juno yelled. They are cutting through the hull. Selena, Nyx, Milo, Tamsin. Ash commanded. Get that data. Get to the ship. Run. I will buy you time. Ash, no, Selena cried. That is an order, he yelled. Go. He turned as the doorway they had entered dissolved. Archon Halbrecht stood there, not in his fine robes, but in the gray, armored uniform of his security force. He was flanked by 10 gray suits, and his face. It was not serene. It was amused. The mechanic, Halbrecht said, his voice a smooth, calm tenor in the chaos. You have been so emotional, so predictable. Thank you for opening the door. This place. It was locked to me, but not to a fool. and not to a broken aristocrat. The data is already gone, Halbrecht, Ash lied, his hand moving to the weapon on his hip. The data is meaningless, Halbrecht said. The only thing that matters is control, he gestured. Take them. I want the Sangreal alive. Kill the man. The gray suits advanced. Ash opened fire. But the gravity was wrong. His shots went wide, the recoil sending him spinning. The gray suits, however, were not fighting the gravity. They were using it. Their boots were magnetized. They walked on the walls, the ceiling, firing with perfect, calm precision. A blast hit the pillar next to him, showering him with crystal fragments. He dived behind it, trapped. Ash! He looked up. Selena had not run. She was there, her own sidearm out, firing with a precision that surprised him. Riven was with her, appearing from a different tunnel, her face a mask of fury. I told you I was not a shuttle driver, Riven yelled, firing 2 blasts that took a gray suit off the ceiling. Nix! Selena screamed, as a gray suit leveled his rifle at her sister, who was frantically working with Milo 9 to secure the data core. The shot was fired. Ash saw it in slow motion. Nix was too weak, too slow to move. He pushed off the wall, using the weird gravity, intercepting the blast. It caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around, his armor sizzling. The pain was blinding. Boss! Milo 9 shrieked. A second guard was lining up a shot on Nix. Ash roared. This is not working. He looked at the floor. He saw the rhythm. The gravity was not random. It was a pulse, a slow, steady wave. He grabbed Riven and Selena. Stop! Firing! He is insane! Riven snarled. Listen to me! Ash gritted, the pain in his shoulder a white-hot fire. The gravity. It is a beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel it. They are walking with it. We are going to walk against it. He saw the guards advancing, walking on the walls, their steps in perfect time with the pulse. On my mark, Ash said. We are going to take 1 single step off the beat. Tamsin, can you hear me? I need a sound. A hard rhythm. Anything. In my ear. Now, Tamsin's voice, shaking. Okay. On it. A heavy, driving, industrial beat slammed into their comms. Simple. Brutal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Find the beat, Ash said. Now. On my 3. Step. Out. He saw the guards, their steps landing on the beat. 1, 2, 3. Ash yelled. Selena. And Riven stepped between the beats. The effect was instantaneous. It was not a physical push. It was a logical one. The room's strange. Harmonic gravity was built on that pulse. By defying it, they sent a dephasing wave, a ripple of dissonance, through the very floor. The gray suits, their magnetic boots locked to a rhythm that had just been shattered, were torn from their perches. They did not fall. They were flung, tumbling through the air, their perfect calm breaking as they spun, disoriented, in the chaotic gravity. Halbrecht himself was thrown from his feet, his face finally showing shock. Go! Ash yelled. But Nix was not moving. She was on the ground, hit by a stray blast while he had been talking. She was not dead, but she was bleeding. Badly. Her leg. I cannot move her, Selena cried, her hands slick with Nix's pale, luminous blood. The ship, Riven said. I have to. Selena, Ash said, stumbling over to them, his own shoulder a wreck. He looked at Nix. She was fading. Her light, her biological light, was dimming. He looked at Selena. Your people. You drink photoplasm as medicine to heal. Yes, she said, her voice frantic. But I do not have any. Yes, you do, Ash said. He grabbed his combat knife. He sliced open the scorched, ruined armor on his forearm. He did not bleed red. Not entirely. The wound from his old implant, the first light, it bled a thin, bright, golden light. It was his own photoplasm. The human version. "I cannot," Selena whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and hunger. "Ash, no. That is the bite. The ritual. It is forbidden. Between our kinds." "I am not your kind," Ash grunted, the pain making him dizzy. He pushed his arm toward her. "And your sister is dying. Is it forbidden, or are you afraid forget the law? Forget the bond. This is medicine, this is a field dressing." He saw the war in her eyes. The centuries of tradition fighting against the desperate, immediate need. She made her choice. She closed her eyes and lunged forward. It was not a kiss. It was not romantic. It was a desperate, biomedical act. She seized his arm. It was not a bite. It was a draw. Her mouth covered the wound, and he felt it. A sudden, dizzying pull. Not of blood, but of energy, of life, of light. He felt the first light, the ghost of his implant, ignite. He saw, in his mind, a flash of her memories. A girl, running in a blue-green field. Her great-grandmother's empty eyes, her fear of the bite. And she saw his. The fire he could not stop, the faces he could not save. The desperate, lonely mechanic in a bay of dead ships. The connection broke. She pulled back, gasping. Her lips were stained with golden light. Her eyes were blazing with a power he had never seen. She was not just healed. She was supercharged. "Gods," she breathed. She turned to Nyx. She did not need a medical kit. She placed her hand on her sister's wound. The golden light, now hers, flowed from her palm. The bleeding stopped. The wound began to seal, the skin knitting back together with visible speed. Nyx's eyes snapped open. She gasped. "Get the data," Ash ordered, stumbling, the blood loss making the room spin. "Ash." Selena was at his side, her strength now monumental. She lifted him, as if he weighed nothing. "The data core," Nyx said, pointing. Riven, who had watched the entire, bizarre exchange with a stunned expression, grabbed the core. "I have it. Juno. We are coming out. Burn us a path." Halbrecht, Selena spat, looking at the Archon, who was just getting to his feet, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated fury. "Leave him," Ash panted. "The data is the weapon. We have to. Go." They ran, a broken, bizarre, and supercharged team, as the crypt of morning tore itself apart behind them. The gray suits still tumbling in the chaotic gravity. Juno's freighter met them at the hull. They scrambled inside. The hatch sealing as plasma fire from the chorus ships stitched the space they had just occupied. They jumped to warp, a bone-jarring, sickening lurch. In the silence of the speeding ship, they looked at the core, the lullabies of obedience, the proof. Ash was on the floor, Tamsin desperately trying to seal his wounds, both from the blast and from the draw. Selena stood over him, her hand to her mouth. She could still taste his light. She could still feel his memories. The bond between them was no longer a glitch. It was real. It was tangible. And it was terrifying. Back on the crypt, Archon Halbrecht stood in the ruined chamber. He watched the warp signature vanish. He was no longer calm. He was no longer amused. He touched the comm on his wrist. "All forces. Divert. Find that ship." He looked at the spot where Ash's blood, his light, had stained the crystal floor. "Find me the mortal," he whispered, his voice shaking with a new, cold rage. "Find me the mortal who has learned to extract our teeth." Juno's freighter was a wreck, its hull scarred by plasma fire, its interior smelling of fried circuits and Ash's singed flesh. They had limped back to the Oraline spindle, bypassing all official ports, and were now hidden in the one place no one would ever look for: a high-house vessel, the deep-level maintenance shafts of Blue Kettle Bay, right below Ash's own workshop. Ash sat on a crate, Tamsin Crow pulling a fresh, glowing bio-bandage over his shoulder. The blast wound was healing, but the other wound, the one on his forearm, was a different matter. It was a faint, golden scar, and it throbbed in time with a new, alien rhythm he felt in his chest. Selena Veilhart's rhythm. She stood on the far side of the bridge, staring at the data core they had stolen from the crypt of mourning. She had not looked him in the eye since the draw. He could feel her. A strange, echoing presence in his mind, a consequence of the shared light. It was not thought. It was resonance. And it was terrifying. "We have it," Nyx Alabaster said, her voice still weak, but now sharp with a familiar, cutting intellect. She was back in her diagnostic chair, wired to the ship, her mind finally, fully, her own. The lullabies of obedience, the proof, the lists of cleansed families, the original orders. It is all here. "So what?" Riven Thorn said. She was cleaning her rifle, her movements short and violent. "We release it, Halbrecht will just activate his hymn. The population will watch the proof, feel nothing, and go back to sleep. We failed at Peregrine Gate. We will fail again." "No," Ash said, his voice a low growl. He stood, his shoulder aching. "We failed because we fought him on his terms. We fought him with noise, with force." "And what will you fight with now, Commander?" Riven sneered, but the title had less venom in it. Ash looked at the data core. He looked at Nyx. "He is a commercial representative, right? He controls the markets. He controls the ledgers." A slow, dangerous smile spread across Nyx's face. Oh, you are a vicious man." "Ash Morgan." "I do not understand," Selena said, turning from the core. It was the first time she had spoken to him directly. Her voice was strained. "We are not going to broadcast the truth," Ash explained. "Broadcasting is a prayer. We are going to inject it. Nyx, Tamsin. Can you take that data, the lullabies, the lists, the cleansed names, and fracture it, break it into millions of tiny, encrypted pieces?" "Like shrapnel," Tamsin said, her eyes lighting up. "Exactly," Ash said. "And then we hide it in the one place Halbrecht cannot moderate. We hide it in the commerce. We are going to launch the most civilized payback in history." He pointed to the main spindle schematic. "Every time someone buys a cup of coffee, every time a shipping container is logged, every time a credit is transferred, we are going to attach one tiny, encrypted fragment of that data. We will piggyback the truth on the back of every single transaction on the spindle." "He cannot stop it," Nyx breathed, her fingers already flying. "He would have to shut down the entire station's economy. He would have to stop commerce." "And the beauty of it is," Ash continued, "the encryption. No one can read it, not at first, but Milo 9. You are going to slip the key into the public network. A sleeper virus. The more transactions, the more data fragments a person accumulates, the faster the key will work. It will not be a broadcast. It will be a dawning realization. A personal, cognitive explosion, happening to everyone, all at once." "Judgment by light," Selena whispered, her eyes wide. "Delivered to every single mind." "But," Juno Slate, the pilot, said from her console, "Halbrecht is not going to just sit there and let us upload a virus. He is still hunting us." "And," Riven added, "the upload will not be instant. It will take time to saturate the ledgers. We need a distraction." A very, very big one. As if summoned by her words, the ship's external sensors screamed. A deep, pervasive thrum vibrated through the hull, the same sound they had felt at the warehouse, but 1,000 times stronger. "What is that?" Ash demanded. Nix's face went pale. "He is not waiting. He is broadcasting. Not the culling hymn. Not the white chorus. It is the hymn of indifference. It is blanketing half the station." On the main screen, the public feeds of the Oraline spindle lit up. Archon Halbrecht's face was everywhere. He was serene, his voice a perfect, calming balm. "Citizens of the spindle," he began. "For too long, we have lived with a parasite among us. A rogue, aristocratic element that feeds on the lifeblood of this station. The Sangreal." Images flashed, not of the elegant heiresses, but of dark, monstrous figures with fangs. It was crude, ancient, human propaganda, but under the soothing blanket of the hymn, it was working. "Today," Halbrecht's voice continued, "they attempted to destroy our economy by launching a data virus. They tried to sow chaos. We will answer with harmony. We will answer with peace." "He is using our plan against us," Tamsin gasped. "He is not just blocking us," Ash said, watching the feeds. The hymn was everywhere, a gray psychic static. "He is inoculating the population against the truth. By the time our data bomb hits, no one will care." "Worse," Nick said, "he is triangulating. The power he is using, he is pushing from somewhere. The Spire of Harmony, the main broadcast tower. He is there." "Then that is our distraction," Ash said, his voice flat. "He wants to fight. We will give him a fight." He turned to the team. "This is it. Riven, you are with me. We are the ground team. We are going to the Spire, and we are going to personally rip his hymn out by the roots." "Juno, Orion." He pointed to the pilot and the sniper. "You are our cover. Get this freighter in the air. I want you to be loud. I want you to be a target. Draw every chorus security ship you can. Keep them off the ground." "Just be loud," Juno asked, a wild grin splitting her face. "I can do that." "Tamsin, Milo 9, Ash said. "You are our remote support. You stay here, in the dark, and you push that data bomb. No matter what. You saturate those ledgers. And I need something else. I need a counter frequency. That chaos sound. The laughter. The heartbeats. Get it ready. When I call for it. I want you to push it, hard, on our private comms." "And me?" Selena asked. She had not moved. Ash looked at her. The resonance was still there, a thin, golden thread in his mind. You are the objective. Halbrecht wants you. You are coming with me. We are going to give him exactly what he wants." The Spire of Harmony was a spear of white crystal and polished steel, punching through the top of the spindle's habitat dome. Juno's freighter, the Blue Kettle, roared through the upper atmosphere, Orion Pike firing the ship's illegal kinetic cannons at the automated defense drones. A beautiful, chaotic display of light and fire. "They are loud," Riven commented, as she, Ash and Selena landed in a stolen transport on the Spire's lowest level. "That is our cue," Ash said. They blew the hatch. The assault was not stealth. It was speed. They moved up the Spire's maintenance corridors. A three-person hurricane. Ash, with the brute force and tactical mind of the Special Extraterrestrial Assault Legion. Riven, a blur of deadly, graceful motion, her blades singing. And Selena. Selena was different. The draw had changed her. She moved with a speed and strength that was terrifying. Her senses, enhanced by his first light, were a razor. She did not just fight. She predicted. 2. Left. She would call. A half-second before two gray suits appeared, and Riven would have them on the ground before they could raise their rifles. They were a perfect, lethal machine, moving through the lower levels. Tamsin, Ash yelled into his comm as they hit a main concourse. Status. Uploading, boss. Milo 9's voice chirped. The ledgers are filling. It is working. People are... I am getting reports. They are confused. They are buying groceries. And suddenly, they are seeing a flash of a cleansed name. They are feeling angry. It is working. Good. Keep pushing. We are almost... A new sound hit them. It was not a sound. It was an absence. A sudden, perfect, psychic vacuum. Riven stopped, mid-strike. She looked at the gray suit in front of her. Her blade faltered. Riven, move! Ash yelled. She did not. She just looked. The gray suit, his face a perfect blank, raised his rifle. Ash tackled her, pulling her behind cover as the blast seared the air. What? What is wrong with me? Riven whispered. She was pale, her eyes wide and confused. I do not care. He was going to shoot me, and I did not care. He did it, Selena breathed, her hand on the wall, her own face losing its fire. The chorus of deprivation. It strips. Empathy. Ash felt it, too, a cold, gray hollowness. He looked at Riven. He felt nothing. He looked at Selena. He felt nothing. The golden thread in his mind was gone. Tamsin, he roared into his comm. Now the noise. Give me the noise. I cannot. Boss. Tamsin's voice was frantic. He is broadcasting on the same frequency. He is overriding me. It is a perfect null wave. I cannot. Use our comms, Ash yelled. A private channel. Just us do it. The gray suits were advancing, a whole squad. They were machines, perfect, emotionless, and lethal. Ash, Riven, and Selena were just tired. I cannot fight them, Selena whispered. They are just people. They are not people, Selena, Ash said, his voice a low, desperate growl. He was fighting it, focusing on his anger, his old anger, the rage he had felt in the bay. And then, his comm clicked. It was not a roar. It was not a blast. It was a heartbeat. A simple, steady, thump-thump, followed by a child's laugh, and then a woman's voice, humming a soft, discordant lullaby. It was Tamsin's counter-frequency. It was chaos. It slammed into the perfect, cold logic of the deprivation hymn, and it broke it. Ash felt his connection to Selena snap back, a painful, golden jolt. He saw Riven gasp, as if surfacing from deep water, her rage returning like a fire. Well, Ash grunted, pulling himself to his feet. He looked at the advancing squad of machine men. Sorry, boys. He hefted his rifle. Your music. It is a little off-key for my taste. He opened fire. They broke through, the three of them. A whirlwind of restored passion. The gray suits, unable to comprehend this sudden, chaotic, emotional assault, fell apart. They reached the top, the broadcast chamber. It was a vast room, open to the sky, a staircase of light coiling up to the massive broadcast dish. And there, at the center, stood Archon Halbrecht. He was not alone. He was surrounded by his elite guard, and he was not smiling. You, he said, his voice no longer calm, but tight with fury. You are persistent. It is a human failing, Ash said, his rifle aimed at Halbrecht's chest. Put it down, soldier, Halbrecht said. He was not looking at Ash. He was looking at Selena. You have lost. The data is out. Halbrecht, Selena said, stepping forward. The spindle is waking up. It is over. Waking up, Halbrecht laughed. They are waking up to my truth. That you are parasites. That you are the enemy. You have just confirmed it. You, an aristocrat. And you, a human. He spat the word. You broke the law. You broke my law. You have no law here, Selena said. Oh, but I do, Halbrecht said. He raised his hand, and a shimmering gray card appeared. It glowed with the full, unadulterated power of the chorus. The authorization of harmony. It states that, in a time of crisis, my word supersedes all local law, including, he smiled, your ancient, superstitious bloodlight accords. He turned to his guards. Arrest her. She is a traitor to the spindle. She is a parasite. Selena faltered. The card was real. It was an unassailable legal weapon. Her proof. It was just data. His authorization. It was power. The guards advanced on her. No, Selena whispered. She was defeated. Ash looked at her. He saw her hope break. He looked at Halbrecht. He saw the cold, triumphant certainty. He looked at his own hand, at the golden scar, the contract. A human point man. A human lending sovereignty. My will. Your law. Selena, he yelled. She turned. Her eyes were desperate. He did not throw her a weapon. He did not shoot. He reached to his chest, to a small, unassuming data puck on his armor, where the original Lightblood contract had been stored by the ship. He pulled it off. It was just a piece of metal. He threw it to her. What is this? Halbrecht sneered. A gift. Selena caught it. She looked at it. She looked at Ash. She understood. It is not just your law, Halbrecht, she said, her voice shaking, but a new, impossible power returning to it. She held up the puck, and she held up her hand, which now glowed with a faint, golden light. Ash's light. You have the authorization of the chorus, she said, but I have the authorization of a free human. I have the first light, and I have the blood light. She slammed the puck into the authorization card slot on the main console. I invoke, she cried, her voice echoing with two kinds of power. The Unified Sovereignty Protocol, the law of the High Houses, and the free will of man your authorization, is void. The gray card that Halbrecht held flickered. It turned from gray to a weak, questioning yellow. What is this? Halbrecht stammered. That is not possible. He picked a fight with a special extraterrestrial assault legion operative. Halbrecht, Ash said, a cold smile on his face. But he also picked a fight with her. And she has the better lawyer. The authorization card turned red. Then it dissolved into static. Halbrecht's face was a mask of pure, uncomprehending terror. No, the network. The network will... The network, Riven said, her blade at his throat. Just got moderated. Halbrecht was on his knees. His guards were surrounded. The hymn was silent. A cheer erupted over their private comms. It is working, Tamsin yelled. The data bomb. The truth. It is all hitting. The spindle is waking up. Ash looked at Selena. She was shaking, the puck still clutched in her hand. The golden light in his mind was a roaring bonfire. It was over. They had won. And then, a new voice. Nyx. Her voice was ice. Ash, Selena, we have a problem. The main screen, which had been showing Halbrecht's defeat, suddenly went blank. A new symbol appeared. A symbol that was not the chorus's. an ancient, golden, dawn-like sigil. "The data bomb worked," Nyx said, her voice terrified. "But it woke everyone, not just the spindle. It woke the entire network." The spire shuddered. The lights in the chamber began to dim. "Tamsin, what is happening?" Ash yelled. "It is not me, boss." Tamsin's voice was a small, frightened squeak. It is a system-wide counterattack. A reharmonization protocol. They are, oh gods, they are not just fighting the data. They are preparing to erase everything. The spindle, the event, the memories. They are going to wipe the slate. Now. The spire was deathly silent. The golden, dawn-like sigil pulsed on the main screen, a symbol of a power far older and vaster than Halbrecht. The Archon himself was a trembling, broken man on the floor, his authorization a pathetic, flickering static. "Nyx," Ash Morgan said, his voice a low, urgent growl. "Talk to me. What is reharmonization?" "It is a ghost," Nyx Alabaster's voice whispered over the comm, thin and terrified. "It is the master protocol of the chorus, not Halbrecht's localized version, the original. It is a deep system command that interprets our truth bomb as data corruption. It is not attacking us. It is deleting us." "How long?" Ash demanded. "It is not a how long," Nyx said, her voice shaking. "It is a how fast. It is already happening. It is blurring the logs. It is not an explosion. It is an unraveling. It is rewriting the spindle's recent history, turning our attack into a minor data hiccup." The air in the chamber felt thick, the victory of 2 minutes ago turning to cold ash in their mouths. "Then we have to get out of here," Riventhorn said, her blade still at Halbrecht's throat. "What do we do with him?" "Leave him," Selena Veilhart said, her voice cold. "He is just a symptom. The disease is still broadcasting." She looked at the screen, at the ancient, golden sigil. "We won the battle, but the war just noticed us." "Juno," Ash barked, "get the blue kettle to the plaza. We are coming down." He grabbed Halbrecht by his uniform, hauling the man to his feet. "You are not in charge anymore, Archon. But you are going to be a guest. Our guest." They descended from the spire not as conquerors, but as survivors, dragging their prisoner with them. The silence of the station, a new, terrifying threat. The plaza was chaos, but it was not the chaos of battle. It was the chaos of cognition. The hymn of indifference was gone. The chorus of deprivation was silent. And Tamsin Crow's and Milo 9's data bomb had done its work. Millions of people, all at once, were emerging from a psychic, anesthetic fog. And they were remembering. They remembered watching a Xeno be executed and not caring. They remembered forming a human shield for Halbrecht. They remembered the blank, placid calm as their own minds were stolen. And now, thanks to the data bomb, they knew why. It was not a wave of righteous anger. It was a wave of pure, undiluted shame. A woman in a business suit was on her knees, vomiting into a planter. A dock worker was staring at his own hands, his face a mask of horror. And in the corner, a small, violent riot had broken out, a group of humans turning on each other, not in anger, but in a frantic self-loathing. "What did we do?" Panic. "This," Riven said, her voice hollow as she took in the scene. "This is the payback. This is the hangover," Ash said, his voice grim. He looked at the rioting. "They do not need a leader. They need a witness." He shoved Halbrecht into Juno's waiting arms. "Put him in the brig." Then he turned to his team. "We are not soldiers anymore. Not right now. We are damage control." "What do we do?" Tamsin asked, her face pale. She had run from the workshop to join them. "We do not fight," Ash said. "We talk. We spread out. Find the worst of it. Riven. You take that riot. Tamsin, Juno, the main concourse. Orion, cover us. Selena, you and I, we will take the transit hub." "Talk," Riven looked at him, her knife still in her hand. "They are tearing each other apart. They need to be stopped." "They need to be heard," Ash corrected. "They are not angry at us. They are angry at themselves. Go. Do not be a warrior. Be a wall. Just listen." Riven looked at the brawl. She looked at her knife. With a grunt of pure frustration, she sheathed it. "This is harder than fighting." "I know," Ash said. For the next 12 hours, they did not fight. They stood. They listened. They absorbed. Ash and Selena found themselves in the middle of the transit hub, surrounded by a crowd of weeping, furious, bewildered citizens. "I let him do it," a man sobbed, clutching Ash's jacket. "I watched." "He controlled you," Ash said, his voice steady, using the same tone he had used to calm a panicked soldier. "He used a weapon. But I did nothing." "You are doing something now," Selena said, her voice cutting through the noise. She was no longer an heiress. She was a presence. "You are remembering. That is the first step, the only step that matters. Later, much later." Riven found them. She was exhausted, her hair matted, her face stained with soot and tears. She slumped onto a bench beside Ash. "He was a man," she said, her voice rough. "He was in the brawl. He said he saw his own son in the crowd that day, watched him, and he felt nothing. He hated himself. He wanted me to kill him." "Did you?" Ash asked quietly. "No," Riven whispered. "I told him that was too easy. I told him if he wanted to atone, he had to stay, to remember, to make sure no one else ever forgot." She looked at her hands, no longer holding a weapon. "I wanted blood revenge. I wanted to see Halbrecht's head on a spike. But this, seeing that man's shame, this is worse. This is a payback that lasts." She looked at Ash, her eyes clear for the first time. "Your human way, it is very, very cruel." "It is just remembering," Ash said. They established talk stations, all over the spindle. Not confession booths, just places. Places for people to tell the story. "This is what I saw. This is what I felt. This is what I did not feel." It was the only way to heal. Back on the Blue Kettle, which had become their de facto headquarters, a different kind of healing was happening. Nyx Alabaster was in the engine room, her hands flying over a console, her face still pale but her eyes blazing with a fierce, cold light. Milo 9 was perched on her shoulder. "They are elegant," Nyx murmured, her voice full of a grudging respect. The chorus. "They are not just deleting the logs. They are blurring them. They are inserting microsecond data lags, corrupted audio files. They are turning the event into a probable mass hysteria incident." "It is a lie," Milo 9 chirped, his digital voice full of indignation. "A big, fat, system-wide lie." "It is brilliant," Nyx countered. "In 3 days, the data will be so blurred that no one will be sure what they saw. It will be a bad dream, not a revolution." "So, what do we do?" Milo 9 asked. "I say we find their mainframe and I will upload a picture of my left-aft articulator." "It is very rude." Nyx actually laughed. A small, dry, rasping sound. She reached up and patted the bot's chassis. "Milo 9, I am beginning to like your sense of humor." "Oh," the bot said, his optical sensor blushing a faint pink. "Well, do not tell anyone." The mood was broken by Ash and Selena entering the engine room. The air between them was charged. It was a physical thing, a thrumming in the air. The golden thread was back, and it was no longer a thread. It was a cable. "Nix," Ash said, his voice tight. "Report." "They are erasing us." "Ash," Nix said simply. "In 48 hours, the spindle will not remember our victory. It will remember a network anomaly." "Then we have to stop it," Selena said. "We cannot," Nix said. "The blur is coming from everywhere. It is not a program. It is the network itself, healing. It is the deep code immune system of the chorus. We cannot fight it." "Then we do not fight it," Ash said. He was looking at the ship's core, the core he had touched. "We use it." "What are you talking about?" Selena asked, her arms crossed. He turned to her, and the intimacy of their bond, the constant, low-level awareness of each other, was making him raw. He felt trapped. He felt like he was back in the special extraterrestrial assault legion, a wire in his head he could not pull. "Ash," she said, her voice softening. "What is wrong?" "This," he said, gesturing between them. "This feeling, this resonance. I cannot think. I cannot be me. I am half of you." The pain in her eyes was a physical blow. "I know," she whispered. "I feel it too. I am a monster. Ash, I did what I swore I would never do. I bound you." "That is not—" "I am not," he growled, frustrated. "You did not do this. We did, to save Nix. But the law, your law. What does this mean?" "It means," Selena said, her voice hollow, "that you are bound to House Veilheart. That if I were to demand it, you would be—" "Yours," he finished. The word was poison. "Like a thing, a pet, a soldier." He backed away. "No, I cannot. I will not. I tore my own implant out. I will not be a wirehead for anyone. Not even you." "Then we must break it," she whispered, her face ashen. "The law. There is a way, a severance of light, but it is permanent, and it is like a death." "I do not want to sever it," he said, frustrated. "I just want a door." He stopped. He looked at her. "That is it. That is what you said. The freedom to walk away, even if you do not use it." "The law does not allow for a door," she said. "The bite, the draw. It is absolute. It is ritual." "Then to hell with the ritual," Ash said. He stepped toward her, his mind, for the first time, clear. He was not a prisoner. He was a partner. "This is not a bloodlight contract," he said, his voice low. "This is a voluntary contract. My will. Your law. Remember, we proved it on the spire." He took her hands. They were shaking. "So, we make a new law. Our law." "What law?" "The voluntary contract," he said, his gaze locking with hers. "We are bound. Yes, but we are bound by choice. And we give each other the door. We give each other the right, the power, to sever this. If one of us, if I am no longer me, if I become a slave to your house, you have to let me go." "And if I," she whispered, "if I become a monster, a queen who owns you, you have to stop me." "I will," he said. "I promise." "This is not law," she said, a tear tracing a path of golden light down her cheek. "This is trust. Trust is better than ritual," he said. The cable in his mind did not go away. It settled. It was no longer a chain. It was a tether, a choice. He let go of her hands. He felt clear. He felt strong. He turned to Nix. "You are right," he said, his voice ringing with a new, calm authority. "We cannot stop the blur. It is too big. So we do not try. We will not try to save the memory." "What, then?" Nix asked. We are going to pin it, Ash said. You cannot delete a song that everyone is singing. You cannot delete a joke that everyone is telling. He pointed to the spindle. They are erasing the log, not the people. So we are going to engrave the memory into the life of the spindle. We are going to weave it into culture. Ash, Tamsin said, her eyes wide. What are you saying? I am saying, Ash said, a slow, dangerous smile on his face, that we are going to write the new operating system. The Halbrecht folly, a new trading term for arrogance. The lullaby, a new password protocol for security. We are going to make our story so much a part of daily life that to erase it, they would have to erase the spindle itself. A new council was formed, the Light Blood Council. It was not a government. It was an editorial board, humans and Sangreal. Nyx, Riven, and Ash sat at the table, their first act to commission a new public holiday, the Day of the Unblurring. And so the songs were written, the games were coded. The history was not just taught, it was played. The chorus could not erase it. It was too loud. Things settled. The spindle was free, wounded, scarred, but awake. Ash was in his old workshop. He was looking at a broken coil. He was thinking he might actually fix it. A small chime. A message. On his old, analog, unnetworked terminal. He opened it. It was not signed. It read, "You chose the right chord. But the orchestra is bigger than the spindle." Ash looked up. He looked out at the white dwarf star. The war was not over. It had just been given a new conductor. Archon Halbrecht's interrogation was not conducted in a cell. It took place in a brightly lit room in the spire, now under the control of the new Light Blood Council. Ash Morgan, Selena Veilhart, and a fully recovered Nyx Alabaster sat at the table. Halbrecht was not in chains, but he was a broken man. The blur from the wider chorus network had failed to erase the spindle's memory, thanks to Ash's cultural pinning, and the Archon was left holding the bag. He was a man whose god had not just died, but had proven to be a fiction. "You are wasting your time," Halbrecht said, his voice a dull monotone. He had not slept. "You won. You have your spindle. You have your messy human truth. What more do you want?" "We want to know who you were working for," Nyx said, her voice cold and precise. She slid a data slate across the table. "The chorus, as you ran it, is a lie. The lullabies of obedience were not your idea. You were a regional manager." "Halbrecht. Who is the chief executive officer?" Halbrecht stared at the slate. He laughed, a dry, rattling sound that held no humor. "You think you fought a machine. You think you defeated an algorithm. That is what we wanted you to believe. It is what I wanted to believe." He looked up. His eyes, once so serene, were now hollow and filled with a fanatic's burned-out zeal. "The chorus is not a what. It is a who. It is not a network of machines. It is a network of us." "Us?" Selena asked, her voice dangerously quiet. "Oh, yes, Lady Veilhart," Halbrecht sneered. "Us. The ones who truly understand the burden of eternity. The ones who know that passion and freedom are just pretty words for chaos and blood. The ones who are willing to do what is necessary to bring true peace." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The chorus, the real chorus, is the House of Dawn." Selena's blood ran cold. Nyx actually recoiled, as if slapped. "That is impossible. The House of Dawn is a myth. They were a pre-Exodus faction. They disappeared 10,000 years ago." "They did not disappear, little girl," Halbrecht said, his arrogance returning. "They ascended. They saw the future. They saw the ruin that the high houses, with their petty feuds and their bloodlight rituals, would bring. They saw the animalistic chaos of the shorter-lived races, and they built a garden, a quiet, orderly garden, where everyone could be safe. By caging them, Ash said, his voice a low growl. By calming them, Halbrecht snapped. By removing the burden of choice, we, the House of Dawn, we created the image of the parasitic Sangreal. We stoked the fires of mistrust. Why? So that the galaxy would crave a savior. So that when we offered them moderation, they would see it as salvation from the vampire, not as tyranny from a machine. He pointed a shaking finger at Selena. And you, your sisters, your entire pathetic, noble lineage, you are the scapegoats. The stage dressing for the greatest social engineering project in galactic history. He turned his gaze to Ash. And you are the mistake. The variable, the human. Me, Ash said. He could not be moderated, Nyx whispered, her eyes wide, her fingers flying over her console, rerunning the data from the ship's engine room, from the crypt. The hymn, the culling hymn in the tea shop, it did not affect him. The white chorus, it did not hold him. We thought it was the implant, Halbrecht said, his eyes narrowing at Ash. We have seen it before. Old Legion tech. It leaves scars. But you were different. You did not just resist the hymn. You were a blank spot, a null vector. The hymn, it did not see you. Nyx looked up from her console, her face pale with a new, profound shock. Ash, your biological scan, the one from the engine room. I thought the first light marker was a corruption, a remnant of your implant. It was, Ash said. No, Nyx said, her voice shaking. I am cross-referencing it with the crypt data, the implant. It did not give you the marker. It just activated what was already there, what was dormant. She looked at him, her expression one of awe. The first light is not a technology, Ash. It is a bloodline, a natural genetic human trait, one found in certain exile populations. It is the human genome, naturally expressing light. You are not a point man. You are a point of origin. A blind spot, Ash whispered, the implications crashing down on him. He had not been strong. He had not been disciplined. He had been invisible to their weapon. A blind spot, Halbrecht spat. The one, chaotic, human variable in a perfect, 10,000-year equation. You were not supposed to exist. Selena had said nothing. She was staring at Ash, her face a mask of disbelief and a dawning, terrible comprehension. Selena, Ash asked. My ancestors, she whispered. The histories, the forbidden texts. They spoke of it, of the potential, of humans of the light. We were taught it was a heresy, a lie to undermine the purity of the bloodlight. She looked at him, her eyes filled with a new, ancient pain. They did not fear it as a heresy. Ash, they feared it as competition, a world where humans could generate their own light. Without us, without our rituals, our control, it would have shattered the high houses, our entire social order. She laughed, a single, broken, bitter sound. My people hid your existence for the same reason the House of Dawn did, to maintain control. Ash felt the weight of it. A betrayal 10,000 years old. His entire life. His disconnection. His solitude. It had all been a lie. He was not an outcast. He was a power. One that two ancient empires, one good and one evil, had tried to smother. He looked at Halbrecht, the rabid true believer. He looked at Selena, the victim of her own history, and he felt tired, but not angry. The rage was gone. So, Ash said, his voice very, very quiet. We have an old aristocracy that hid the truth to keep their power, and we have an even older one that created a false god to steal it. He stood up, Nix, Riven. Get him out of here. Put him in a cell. A real one. And get the council together. He looked at Selena. We need to talk. The observation deck was quiet. The white dwarf star was a silent, clean fire in the black. They stood apart. The 10 feet of metal deck between them a canyon. The golden tether, the voluntary contract, was still there. It thrummed. No longer just a bond of shared feeling, but a bond of a shared, terrible history. You, she began, are free of that contract. The voluntary one. My people. They lied. To yours. To you. The debt is mine. Not yours. Stop, he said. He walked across the deck, not stopping until he was standing in front of her. It was not you. It was your ancestors. And I am not my ancestors. But the betrayal, she whispered. The betrayal was theirs, he said. The choice is ours. Right. That is the new law. Trust is better than ritual. He looked at her, his eyes holding hers. The House of Dawn. They want to erase us, to turn us all into puppets. I am not going to let them. I am not going to let them win by making me hate you for a crime you did not commit. She looked up at him, her luminous eyes, so like the star, swimming with tears. But the bond, the bite, it is still a chain. Ash, my law is still a cage, even if you are a first light. I am not. He smiled, a small, tired, real smile. If you want to bite, he said, his voice rough, I would rather we were both clear-headed, not in a burning crypt, not when your sister is dying. She stared at him, a tear breaking free, tracing a golden path. And, she whispered, a watery laugh catching in her throat, you will bite back with a promise of freedom. Every single time, he promised. He did not kiss her. He just stood there, with her, a partner. The choice was made. The Light Blood Council convened. It was a new, raw, chaotic thing. Humans, hybrids, and Sangreal, Riven, Nyx, Tamsin, Juno, Orion, and Ash. The mandate was clear. The Spindle was the first free territory, the first place to unblur its own history. But it was not the last. The House of Dawn, Ash said, his voice filling the chamber, is not going to let this stand. They will send more Halbrechts. They will find new hymns. We won a battle. But like the message said, the orchestra is bigger. Then we need to get a bigger conductor, Nyx said, her thin, cold smile returning. Riven Thorn stood. The high houses are in chaos. They now know the truth, that they were betrayed. By their own mythology, and by their oldest kin. They want payback, a real one, an interstellar one. She looked at Selena. Then she looked at Ash. They planned the payback, Riven said, a hint of a smile on her face. But they do not know how to fight this war. They do not know how to fight an idea. They need a leader. Someone who knows how to break a hymn. Someone who is a blind spot. Someone who has already proven he can win. She turned, her gaze, and the gaze of every Sangreal in the room, falling on Ash Morgan. They were giving him the lead. The Blue Kettle was no longer a battered freighter. It had been upgraded. It was now the flagship of the Spindle's new restoration fleet. It was sleek, dark, and bristling with weapons that were half human tech, half Sangreal science. Ash stood on the bridge. His team was with him, Juno at the helm, Orion at weapons. Tamsin and Milo 9 were at the new Harmony console, a station dedicated not to broadcasting, but to listening. Riven and Nyx were at the tactical plot, and Selena was at his side, his partner. The Council is asking for our departure plan, Commander, Juno said, the title clean, crisp, and earned. We have it, Ash said. And what about this Milo 9 chirped? The children of the spindle. They sent us a new song. They say it is a memory lock, to make sure we do not get blurred. He played it. It was not a grand anthem. It was a simple, discordant, beautiful melody, full of children's laughter and the clang of metal on metal, the sound of life. Put it in the archive, Ash said, a smile touching his face. Label it the real hymn. Milo 9's light blinked. Boss. I hope this track has the right salvation frequency. The ship began to move, pulling away from the bright, beautiful, chaotic lace of the Oraline spindle. Juno, Ash said. Set a course. As the blue kettle turned its nose to the black, a final, encrypted, anonymous dispatch lit up Nyx's console. It had come from no traceable origin. It had come from everywhere. Message, Commander, Nyx said, her voice a whisper. Ash and Selena read it together. House of Dawn awaits you at the Rift of Glass. Ash looked at Selena. She looked at him. The war was over. The war had just begun. Juno, Ash said, his voice ringing with a cold, clear, human authority. You have our destination.